Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are covering some of Dalvin Cook's trade destinations, and I believe these are realistic based off of the current salary cap situation of these squads, as well as the potential compensation that the Vikings may receive in exchange for Dalvin Cook. There's going to be quite a few suitors post-draft here. Now, some of the teams know that there is a running back hole to potentially fill on their team. Some of these are slightly controversial. Some people might not agree. However, I do believe there is a pathway for all of these teams that I've listed to trade for Dalvin Cook. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you do enjoy NFL content. Now, jumping into the number one team here, it's been well documented. That's the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins, I think, very realistically could trade their second round pick, which a lot of us anticipate them likely picking towards the end of the second round. The third round pick, I do not believe that they own this year due to the tampering. So their second round pick would be on the table in exchange for Dalvin Cook and a fourth round pick from Minnesota. I do believe this to be a realistic situation for them. I think when you look at the Miami Dolphins in terms of how close they are and what they feel that their window is, getting a dynamic running back for the next couple of seasons very well could be the tipping point potentially in the division. When you look at where this team currently sits, I think it is a real possibility. Now, that fourth round pick could be a little bit flexible. It could be this year, it could be the following year. That's why I did leave that one blank in terms of the years. So I look at this as a real possibility that Miami decides to push the chips forward in a division that's going to be uber competitive. You already have the Buffalo Bills, you have the New York Jets, and then Miami is kind of somewhere in the middle trying to figure out exactly where they are in terms of a contention standpoint. To me, the Miami Dolphins have to definitely be on the radar here for Dalvin Cook. It's been pretty well documented pre-draft. There were even some conversations going on during the NFL Combine about Dalvin Cook's potential landing spot of going there. I think this very well could happen. It's something that we need to keep right in front of us during this time. Miami's a sneaky team in all of this. I really do believe that, but look at them for the fit. I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at how this team is going to run the football in terms of sheer volume, stylistically, what they're looking for in a running back. Dalvin Cook has so much versatility. It's going to be a great fit in that scheme. I think this is a plus level fit. And I think in terms of trade value, them reacquiring another pick, especially a mid-round pick as a fourth rounder, makes some sense for them. I also believe that the Vikings do well here, acquiring a second round draft selection. Now we have the New York Jets. And I believe that when you look at the New York Jets, this is a team that's a little bit less desperate potentially than the Miami Dolphins with this current situation. I'm looking at the Jets as a real landing spot for the sheer fact that they have pushed their chips in with Aaron Rodgers. Therefore, they need to make sure they're super competitive at the position. There's going to be a lot of people saying, well, they already have Breece Hall. Breece Hall is the running back of the future, and I 100% agree. I also think that there is some value in having two elite backs in the backfield, and plus you give Breece Hall some time to recover from his injury, which I think there's a lot of pluses in this. Joe Douglas is going to be aggressive the rest of the offseason here, and I think that very well could begin with the New York Jets acquiring Dalvin Cook. Now, there's going to be some people that say, hey, they really don't need him. They got a slew of running backs that they like, but for a fourth round draft pick, they get a seventh back in Dalvin Cook. To me, it makes a lot of sense in a 1 year or 2 year window that you have Aaron Rodgers for. To me, this is a culmination of things that make sense. The Vikings sending out or getting a fourth in this, as well as the Jets getting a perennial talent in Dalvin Cook. Now we have to consider what Christian McCaffrey was traded for, and this is a great deal. This is a really, really good deal for them. Some Vikings fans might think that he's worth a lot more, but there are some teams that understand the current situation the Vikings are in from a salary cap perspective. We also know that the future of the Minnesota Vikings is in the hands of other running backs. Alexander Mattison is thought to be the guy for the next 2 seasons. There's a real reason why they had signed him to a contract extension. You don't sign him for quote unquote that kind of money unless you plan on using him a ton. A lot of times teams will just select a running back and just go with a guy on a rookie contract, but they actually have some true plans to play Alexander Mattison a lot, and I think other teams are fully aware of that. Next team I have here is the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans have the money to absorb. They'd like Dameon Pierce, and I think Dameon Pierce is a really good piece. However, I think when you look at the Texans, there's a chance that they want to take another home run swing at a guy like Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook could provide this offense with the jolt that it needs. It's going to help out CJ Stroud a ton, in my opinion. But getting Dalvin Cook in this backfield is something that we should actually truly be monitoring. The Texans were super aggressive in the draft, obviously, by making the trade up with Arizona. Therefore, they're going to be a little bit more limited on draft picks. But I think at the end of the day, Houston is a team that we have to watch moving forward. Consider the Texans as a team that very well could be in the headlines here. They're going to try to make a very competitive roster. If you have the two-headed monster of Dalvin Cook and Dameon Pierce, this could go a long ways in terms of setting up your franchise for future success. And to me, Dalvin Cook has quite a few good years left in him. I think when you look at him on tape, everything looks good from an athleticism standpoint. The injuries are somewhat of a concern, but at the end of the day, I think the Texans could make a lot of sense for a team that's there. I firmly believe that they're going to try to compete right away. I don't think they're looking at any of these seasons as throwaway seasons, whether that's right or wrong, on their side of believing in things. But I think with DeMeco Ryans and in that front office, they are going to try to compete year one, and Dalvin Cook for a minuscule price makes a lot of sense. Now we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is a team that has money and can afford it and are going to need to rely on a reliable run game. In my opinion, this is a team that's got to make a move in order to try to compete in the division. This roster does not have enough, in my opinion. There are a couple of running backs that they like in their room. Rachaad White is one of them. Now, I like Rachaad White as much as the next guy, but I think for Tampa Bay in a very winnable division, a lot has changed with this roster. However, some of the constants remain the same. This is pretty much the same nucleus that was, just winning a Super Bowl. Now we have to consider the situation has changed. There's no Tom Brady here. There's a couple of different pieces missing from this roster, especially defensively. However, I think Tampa Bay can put themselves in a position to potentially win the division. A very, very winnable situation. You have Atlanta, you have Carolina, and you have New Orleans, all teams that are definitely wild cards heading into the season and probably the most unpredictable division in the entire league in terms of who's going to be the division winner. I think that is a fair assessment here when looking at this division as a whole. Dalvin Cook in a 5th round pick for a 3rd round draft pick. I think across the board, this makes some sense. The Vikings up their 5th rounder to a 3rd. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers can be pretty competitive for a mildly nice price from the Minnesota Vikings. Now, again, I try to factor the compensation portion of timeline. I try to factor it in terms of, how desperate is this team to actually make a move? And to me, this just makes a lot of sense here. Tampa Bay jumping in on the Dalvin Cook sweepstakes when a lot of people aren't necessarily anticipating them to try to make a move. But if they have some of the salary cap space to make it happen, I think it is a real possibility. Thanks again, everybody, for stopping by. Make sure to hit that subscribe button if you are new to the channel. We have a lot of great NFL content that is going to be coming throughout the course of the summer and into training camp. So make sure you stay tuned, and we will catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.